We are in Italy, and the plan today is to take my Ferrari Purosangue to its birthplace, to Maranello, the home of Ferrari. In fact, we're going to stop by the Museo Ferrari Maranello to go and see the rarest and greatest Ferraris of all time. But there's a reason we're right here, where we're beginning. Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel. You join me on a pretty dreary morning here in the Dolomites on the Purosangue tour around Europe, but today is going to be a good one. Because I always love things going full circle, I have parked this car on exactly the same spot where I first ever drove a Ferrari Purosangue. The global media launch for the FUV was hosted right here. It was a slightly better weather day than today, I'm not gonna lie. And then the next day, because we had driven with my SF90 Stradale with the roof box on it, we had it parked just over there to start the journey to St. Moritz, to go to the ice, where there was, a cold journey ahead of us that day. Anyway, today it's earlier in the season, it's a little bit wet, I don't know how much snow we're going to find, but there's something fun about bringing my car the following winter, about 9 months later, back to exactly the same spot. It has already proven to be quite the adventure, and we're not done yet, because when we get to Maranello, I've got some big news to tell you guys. I've been keeping the tiniest of little secrets. A future Shmeemobile, a dream come true, so stay tuned for that. But after setting off from the UK later than planned, on the way over through Belgium, a warning light popped up a couple of minutes before the German border, and my engine warning light has come on. So I set the nav to Ferrari in Köln, Maranello Motors in Cologne, Germany, to go and read it out, and on the way there, got a nail in the tyre. And you don't want a nail in a 23-inch winter tyre for a Ferrari that's brand new, because they are not easy to find. Thankfully, they got me back up and running almost immediately, amazing service, and we stopped again at Gome Ferrari in Berblingen, Stuttgart, to read it out again. So we now know exactly what's needed to stop that warning. It doesn't ruin the fun in the slightest. Along the way, this V12 has screamed as we've gone to 270 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn, the limit with the winter tires. I don't think we're going to be doing that today here in Italy in the rain, but we do have a fun drive ahead on some roads I particularly love on the way down to Maranello to take the Shmeemobile to its hometown for the first time since it was built. The journey ahead today is only a couple of hours, but this thing is going to be even dirtier by the time we get there. I mean, look at the Scuderia shield, absolutely layered in dirt and grime. There is something cool about a very dirty Ferrari being used as intended, although it was washed around 36 hours ago and it's already like that. So that's the weather at this time of year. Anyway, we are heading to the Museo Ferrari Maranello, the museum in Ferrari's hometown. I've been many times over the years and there is a lot to see. One of my absolute dream cars is literally there, along with the latest Ferrari road cars, loads of the race cars, lots of lovely classics, and so much more to go and take in as we walk around. Literally the rarest and best Ferraris ever made, all there. Now we've got a drive that I quite enjoy from here, so I suppose we should get this V12 started up, get warm in the Purosangue and get the drive underway. The navigation is set, so let us make our way out. It is not a pretty day today. Hopefully it's going to be sunny down in Maranello, because like I say, we are coming for a multitude of reasons, but I don't want to go too much into that yet. Today's objective is to enjoy driving the Ferrari in Italy. There's something very special about being in Italy at the wheel of a Ferrari. Even if the roads here are so unbelievably narrow, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare getting out. But I drove one of these for the first time ever, literally here at the start of this year. And I'm on the same roads now with mine. This is crazy. This is genuinely crazy. But off we go. On a nice sunny day, the view here would be spectacular of the mountains all around us. Sadly, I think the clouds and the rain today have other ideas. This is where it starts to get significantly more exciting as we twist and turn up the mountain. In fact, look at the nav screen in front of me. Look at those roads, the spaghetti that races up the hill climb. This is the road up to Vassal, which is actually the Trento Bondone hill climb, one of the world's oldest hill climb races from 1925. 10 miles or so, 17 odd kilometers of twists and turns up the mountainside, and somewhere where we drove on that Purosangue launch event, and also somewhere where I've come many times before, and every single time it's just epic, especially with a car like this. It just blips through the gears. in sport mode, of course, so we can hear and enjoy a ton more of it. What a place, what a soundtrack. We start to get to some of the snow. Of course, this is a pretty famously dangerous road up Trento Bondone. Those shifts in this car are just monumental. Now you can change the suspension system settings independently of your drive mode, so I can actually press the Manettino, and I quite like it in medium for the road. You've got 3 different settings, so Ferrari's always previously had effectively normal and bumpy road. Now we've got soft, medium and hard, and it depends on the conditions. Obviously on the motorway you want it in soft, but this is not a bad way to enjoy driving a Ferrari in Italy, hey? As we twist and turn up towards the ski resort at the top. It just goes from hairpin to hairpin. And obviously in here, it sounds so epic. This is ridiculous. I actually remember coming here many years ago in my FF. I think I've driven here probably with both of the Lussos as well, but certainly with the FF back in 2017 probably, up towards Vasson. It is the early part of the ski season, but quite fun to be blasting up past the ski hills with the lifts in operation, enjoying the roads. I always find it really fun to be on a driving tour and go past a ski town. I mean, literally up here, skiers coming down the pistes. I kind of want to swap and go and put my skis on and go and have some fun. I'd have loved to have found some snow as well to drive on, but alas, I say that. No, that's like not for driving on. It'd be fun. Maybe somewhere we find a snowy car park on this tour. If we don't, next time. On a sunny day, the view from where we've now stopped is amazing. The view out over this way. The ski slope actually goes past over the tunnel there. Tunnel and V12 coming up. You're thinking what I'm thinking. Now we actually stopped here. I started my video over here. We stopped here for the lunch checkpoint on the drive with the Purosangue. I've stopped here many times before. We're actually underneath a chairlift, although that's clearly not running at the moment. And this is getting really, really dirty. The glaze from the wetness over the top of it, hey, it is slightly snowing now, is masking that a touch. I didn't mention Paintgate, the paint. At some point in this tour, I had driven over with the right wheels some fresh paint, which had splattered a whole load up over here. All of the surface stuff was cleaned up in Munich, but there's a lot more hiding behind. So when we get home, there's going to have to be something that we do with this. Big trip to Topaz and a full wheels off, approach it, see what we can figure. Anyway, I am now starting to get a little bit cold, and there's a tunnel I want to go and enjoy. Let's get back in. Back on the road we go. Is that Audi TT driving out onto the slope? No, I thought he might have been for a second. Okay, tunnel time. So, first gear, manual. This thing is silly. A V12 in this day and age. I tell you what is also silly in a bad way is the noise of all of this grit on the road. That is definitely making me cringe just a little bit while we drive over it. Or knowing that's all everywhere. Literally, it will be getting everywhere. The other thing is when you hold the downshift paddle, it just drops down through the gears. It always does that kind of double blip down into first, which I noticed on the Mille launch. I've never quite understood it, but look at this out to the left now. Definitely got some cool views. If you can see through the trees, I'm not sure. This is amazing. We seem to have tunnels after tunnels, which is amazing. Drop the gears. But yeah, we're nearly back to the main road. Safe to say this part of the drive is not the most exciting. I mean, look at this. It is absolutely raining cats and dogs. We've got about an hour still to go to the Modena region, Motor Valley as it's known, with all of the automotive manufacturing and supercar brands that are in the area, and of course to the museum in Maranello. Here we are then. We go over this bridge and effectively into Maranello between these two car park buildings. These are actually fairly new. In fact, you go past a lot of new buildings here, but my car is home and we've got the prancing horse right there in the center of the roundabout that always greets you into Maranello. To the right side there is where you have all of the factory. That's where a lot of the cars come out, I guess, staff parking, that kind of stuff. But it's amazing as Ferrari as a brand grows and obviously builds many more cars. You go back a couple of years, look here, what's coming past. a painted SF90. Cool. The company only a couple of years ago was making, what, 7,000 or 8,000 cars a year? Something like that. And fast forward to today, and it's verging on something like 15,000 a year. Obviously, success, growth, new models, lots of different things. And as we come down here, it's most of the stuff to our left side that's all kind of new. I mean, maybe not these first bits, but the road just here used to go round to the left, round past this last building. Whereas now what you're going to see to the left is basically everything being prepared for the future. All of that is new. All of those buildings are new on both sides there. This wasn't like this. Preparing for the expansion, I suppose, electrification. Not sure how electrification in a Ferrari is going to be, but we're going to head a little bit further up, go past the original famous old school gate, and then the museum is not far from there, just around a corner or two. You might just be able to see a Daytona SP3. Dark red, I think maybe Rosso Rubino, with some yellow painted accents on it, that was up there in the traffic. That was cool. Beautiful. Just didn't manage to capture it as it went past. On the left side here then is the famous front gate, the famous entrance. Lots of work's going on there. In fact, lots of work's going on everywhere around here. I feel like I need to go and even have a look at the shops and different things they've got set up. The main entrance to Fiorano is now down that way. Maybe that's where I should have gone. The Daytona probably went that way. But we're heading round here towards the museum. You just don't know what you're going to see where when you're here in Maranello. I mean, you know you're going to see Ferraris, but they just pop up out of nowhere. Sometimes race cars, sometimes prototypes, sometimes obviously the latest production cars as they're getting their road testing mileage done. And lots of tourists and people visiting, even when the weather is miserable and grim like today. And here we pull in to the Museo Ferrari Maranello. That's nice, they've got the covers for the weather. Right, I'm gonna park up somewhere and then we will head inside and go get ready to take it all in. We're in store for quite a treat here, believe me. There are a lot of different exhibitions. Let's head on in. We're going to go through a journey here, a journey that includes the history of Scuderia Ferrari, the race team, a bit about Enzo Ferrari, and of course the modern supercars, including the latest special project. I wasn't expecting to be able to see one of those today, but we start immediately with a big piece of history, the 250 LM, the 250 Le Mans. I cannot overstate how amazing it is to see that and be greeted by that when you enter. Now, everything around shows us how the company used to be, how it started, how the factory used to be operated back in the late 40s, 50s, 60s, the early days. And in fact, there's even a section here taken from Enzo Ferrari's office, his original desk, door, and other parts. And I want to draw attention to the aircraft here, because that's where the Cavallino, the prancing horse, actually came from. Francesco Baracca, who was a World War I fighter pilot hero, unfortunately passed away, and his mother gifted the crest to Enzo Ferrari, and a decade later it was found on the Scuderia Ferrari race cars, on the race team cars, before of course becoming the iconic logo that we all know now. Obviously technology changed, so on this side we have the early body of the 250 LM. Back then cars went to different coach builders, the likes of Pininfarina, Bertone, all of the companies. Before now, you have more the chassis setup that we know of the 812 Superfast. But this is just the beginning, because we're going to be heading through to the supercars, the hypercars really we should say, special projects, and a lot more about Scuderia Ferrari. Now we start to talk my language, the supercars, the Ferrari lineage that goes from the 288 GTO to the LaFerrari and onwards into the future. There were 272 288 GTOs initially introduced, and I don't think at the time anybody realized the significance this would go on to have. Being a car that was developed for Group B, unfortunately rules and things changed, so it could never go on to be what was originally intended, but did then spawn the iconic F40, one of most people's favorite Ferraris of all time. A little over 1,300 F40s produced, and of course values in recent times have absolutely flown up. However, it is the car that comes next that has always grabbed my attention, the F50, and none other than an F50 in Giallo Modena. 349 F50s in total. My first ever poster car that I had on my wall when I was in single digits of age was a yellow F50. This has always been the dream for me, and every time I've seen one and been lucky in the past to even drive a yellow F50, it has absolutely blown my mind. Any F50 has blown my mind, but especially when it's in yellow. The colours of this region, the colours of the Modena region. And in fact, a lot of people wonder about the red versus yellow. The red is the racing colour of Italy, hence Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Ferrari, all race in red. But yellow is this local area, the Modena area, of course, where we are located now, where the history of this company is based. But this, with the V12 engine, and I drove one very recently, in fact, out in the US, is what it's all about to me. You can take the roof off at the moment with the hardtop roof in place, but this whole section lifts off. There's a fabric roof that you can use as well, should you prefer. This is actually quite unusual, having that yellow interior. Normally the interior of these cars would be in black, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic, even if the F50, when it was introduced, might not have been quite as fast as its previous and elder sibling. I think it just looks absolutely amazing. We move on to the F50's successor, the car that wears the name of the company founder himself, the Ferrari Enzo, or Enzo Ferrari. There were 399 of them initially. A 400th was produced and gifted to the Pope, and that car was then auctioned to raise funds for the victims of the tsunami that happened in the early 2000s. Hard to believe that this is now over 2 decades old, just over 20 years old, but still looks incredibly fresh, based around the 6-litre naturally aspirated V12, one of which we actually have on display over here, producing 660 horsepower, and effectively one of the early derivatives of what we have now, even in the Purosangue. This engine actually went on to be in the different 599 versions, the GTB, HGTE, GTO, SA Aperta, and of course enlarged to the next models. As we come past though, I want to show you quickly what we have here, some of the technical diagrams and drawings of legendary Ferrari supercars. Amazing to just feast the eyes over before we have that view. We should talk about the LaFerrari first, introduced already a decade ago, being at that launch event over 10 years ago. It's amazing how quickly time has flown. 499 cars of the hybrid 6.3-litre V12 making 963 horsepower, followed by the Aperta with the removable Targa roof panel, of which there were officially 200 customer cars and a further 10 or so that were used for different marketing activities, so around just over 700 of the LaFerrari in total, before also introducing this, the FXX-K. This is the FXX-K Evo, the evolution of the original car, of which there were 40. There are now 60 to 70 or so in total, but unrestricted, to be the ultimate track toy, making 1,050 horsepower, nearly 100 up from the standard LaFerrari. And we actually also have the engine just over here to take a look at with the KERS system. Developed from Formula One technology, the 6.3-litre naturally aspirated V12, the most powerful 12-cylinder engine, or any combustion engine that Ferrari had introduced at the time, with the dual-clutch transmission, and by using the e-motor and battery for the electric system, replacing the need for the alternator as well, making the car lighter, saving weight, obviously very important when it comes to a supercar. Before we move to the car over there, I've got to show you this area, an example of the tailor-made studio. Now, Ferrari's tailor-made offering for customers who are lucky to choose this route allows your imagination to run wild in terms of materials, painted liveries, and in particular cars that are inspired by history, and that's what we're looking at here with this F12 TDF. Now, this is one of 799 cars. I have actually met the owner of this specific car before, and it has a story behind it. It pays tribute to a legendary 250 GT Competizione that was from Écurie-Francorchamps, the famous team founded by Jacques Swatters. So this particular car features the painted livery to match, the full-length yellow stripe, the matching interior, all of the painted details like the hand-painted shields and the numbers on the roundels. It looks striking, and this is just part of what TaylorMade offers. When it comes to different colors, creating something totally bespoke and unique, there are hundreds if not thousands of different options, even with leathers, heritage style, different materials, of course countless different stitches and different finishes that can feature within the vehicle. But let's come through to what's lurking back here. What we see here is the latest Ferrari special project vehicle, the SP8. Now, this was only introduced about a month or two ago at the Finale Mondiali held at Mugello here in Italy, but this is a special project, a customer being invited to create a totally unique vehicle. And what we're actually looking at right here is the Modello di Stile. This is the original style model that effectively the customer will have signed off before the final vehicle was produced. Now, this is called the SP8 for two reasons. Number one, there is a V8 engine. It's based on the F8 Tributo and Spider platform, so we have the 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8. Number two, the lucky number for its Chinese owner. Now I want to show you a little bit more around it. Distinctly Ferrari, of course, in its design and style, but look here and notice this front grille. This entire piece that runs all the way around across the whole of the front of the car is actually one piece. That's to maximize airflow and cooling in towards the radiators. The color is called Blu Scuro Stellato, the main front sections, but notice of course how it wraps around to this rear section in Argento Metallizato Opaco, the satin silver that you have, and notably completely open. No roof to speak of, no roof panel, the rollover protection, but creating this different color zone, the way it wraps around, and again, these shapes, as we see at the front, mimicked towards the back, and similarly down here as well, but featuring the newer style lights inspired by the Ferrari Roma. This feels very reminiscent of the 812 Competizione, bringing together these different designs. Check out the exhaust tailpipes down here, featuring within the diffuser of it as well. So first look for me at the SP8, and I have to say, this looks absolutely stunning. I really, really like that. Well, we throw back to Mille. We have the 166 MM, an example of which has of course won the Mille, and this particular car, this 315S, was the winner of the very final Mille race, the 1957 race. This exact car, number 535, the time at which it started each drive, 5:35 in the morning, with an average speed over 150 kilometers an hour for the 10 hours or so from Brescia down to Rome and back. This exact one. This is an exhibit connected to the Aeroautodromo, the old Autodrome airfield, and Modena, where of course lots of the testing was done back at the time. We enter the victory room. Feast your eyes around this space. Not only the cars, which we're going to take a look at in a moment, but also the trophies, the constructor trophies, even the helmets and the differences and the way these evolved from the likes of Ascari, Fangio, Hawthorne, Hill, Surtees, Lauda, through to Scheckter, Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen. The constructor trophies, a sample of them are here. Of course, over the years, Ferrari have won countless, but look at this. Look at this display. We'll have a very quick run around. We've got a Gilles Villeneuve car. We then have a whole run of Schumacher cars from the 90s, running through towards, I believe, his very final championship winning car over here, the F2004. But obviously some of these are the original running cars, including that, and also Kimi's car here as well, Kimi Räikkönen's F2007. But my goodness, there's a lot of Ferrari history with that group of cars. And hey, maybe one day we'll have a car from Charles or Carlos to join them in here as well in the years that follow. But this is the victory hall, Ferrari's greatest victories. And this is absolutely outstanding to look around. This is really, yeah, you can stand in here and just be mesmerized by it for a while. We rewind back to the story of the Scuderia, Enzo Ferrari's race team, which began back in November 1929, many years, of course, before founding the company that would go on to wear his name. But that's why often you see cars from the 1930s, Alfa Romeos, for example, wearing the prancing horse. This is one of the crowns of the collection, the 268 SP, stunning machine just sitting right there, raced back in the 1960s. There's even a 430 Scuderia here, which arguably slightly different, but this was the tribute from the F430 by making a more track-focused version that would be at home on the racetrack, hence the link and the tribute to Scuderia Ferrari in the name. This is the pinnacle of the collection that we see here, the 330 P4. This is actually the very car that you see in the center of that image at the back. The trio that crossed the finish line together, dominating the podium at the 24 Hours of Daytona. It would be nigh on impossible to put a price tag on this car. Tens, if not hundreds of millions. This exact car that's in front of us right here, one of the most valuable cars in the entire world. You might be wondering why it's a different configuration. After the race at Daytona, where it had the hardtop setup, it then raced at Sebring, which is why you see it here as the Barchetta opened, the changes that were made to the body style for the different rules. We also have here a 2018 F1 car, but wearing the 2023 livery. But this gives you an example of the evolution of aerodynamics and the technology that goes into all of this, and the impact every little bit of aero has to the cars as they're racing. And the last car to show you here is the Indy. This was at a time when Ferrari wanted some changes from the FIA. They decided that they would go out and try and make their own series. As soon as they almost got started in testing, things were updated and they were able to continue with F1 exactly as they wanted, and things to this day have continued to evolve ever since. What a journey it is as you explore and rewind back some of this history. It is time to try the simulator. So, lower myself all the way down.
Are you comfortable? Can you reach the pedals?
Yeah, that's not bad. Harness in.
Write your name, please.
Okay.
And now you can choose the track.
Okay. Right. Spa, Mugello, Monza, Zandvoort, Silverstone, Red Bull, Nürburgring, Barcelona. We're going Spa. I like Spa in the F175. This is pretty intense. Not entirely sure what I'm doing, but learning it as I go, trying to do my best. First time in any new sim is an unfamiliar experience. In fact, the first time I think I've ever driven in a sim with a halo, which is certainly a bit of a learning process as well. Clinging on tight as we come round the back corners at Spa. Knowing now how that works, you need to be a lot braver than I was in round one. Fun though, good fun. I'm about to try a pit stop. So there are all sorts of different educational activities and things to do here, one of which is in this pit garage setup. In fact, look at this, the whole desk of screens and everything obviously that you have at the races. So wish me some luck and let's see how this is going to go. Probably gonna need some help though. Can't really do this on my own. Okay. So what am I doing? Am I doing the air gun?
Yeah, you can start with the air gun, then we can switch. Okay, this is for you. I will make it here.
Okay, so
3, 2, 1. It was 8 seconds, 8 seconds.
What a place to visit, the Museo Ferrari Maranello. We've seen the supercars up to the FXX-K Evo. We've seen the SP8, that was a nice surprise. This is all part of a rotating display, so if you come down the line, there'll be different cars here to what I've been able to see. But even the 268 SP, the 330 P4, that was incredible here in the heartland of Ferrari. For now though, let's head back to the Purosangue. Before we hop back into my car, lovely 500, come and take a look at this. For the owner, I have just popped a little squiggle on the dashboard, which is quite fun. Big thanks to the sport. In fact, a big thanks to all of you guys for your support. Without you, it wouldn't be possible to do things like a tour in the Purosangue and to come to somewhere as amazing as this. Night has fallen though, end of the day. So I guess on that one, the end of our day, driving the Purosangue here in Italy. And I did say earlier that once we would get to the end, it would be an absolute state. I mean, look at this. And even though it's got PPF, I'm not gonna start writing on it or anything, so I don't wanna make a total mess of it. The magic is though, it wouldn't actually damage it, but don't do it. Never do that, never do that, bad idea. I find it interesting to see the way aero works on these things, how everything above this rear line isn't so dirty, other than the streaks that have come over the top of the car. Either way, it is going to need a big clean and tidy up. I mean, look, the center caps, which are carbon fiber, are now just satin grey, basically vanished, non-existent. Anyway, end of today, what a journey, what an adventure. It feels special every time. You know, I've driven, well, all of the Ferraris I've owned, other than the 296, because it's brand new and not even run in yet, down here to Maranello. 5th time bringing one of my Ferraris to the hometown of Ferrari, and every single time, I say 5th time, 5th car, because some have been more than once, every time, I don't know, there's something about the passion for this brand that you feel here that nothing else can really match or connect to. So yeah, that's been amazing. If you're ever in the area, come check out both the Museo Ferrari here in Maranello and also the Museo Enzo Ferrari in Modena, two working together with different exhibits. That's more the history of Enzo himself and more of the classic cars in many ways. That's it for this time though. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!